Dave's 5 Hot Takes. Yeah. Okay, so we're back on this fun little snippet where we're gonna talk about 5 of John's songs that I love, and I want to talk. Okay, John. So I want to talk about first. Let's talk about Human.
You say the word human, and I'm immediately transported back to my hotel room in West Hollywood, California,
Okay.
where a tall, strikingly handsome man with a voice of an angel named Kevin Griffin
I know this man.
knocks on my hotel door. He comes in. He's got a little, recording rig, and he had this little hook that was the little this part. He had like a little drum beat, for it. And it was one of the, it was probably maybe one of the first co-writing sessions that I loved because I knew him. I loved his band Better Than Ezra. I loved his music. And I thought it was cool that we were writing together. And he came in and he had this great little hook and we wrote it really quickly. And, I love that it meant something and said something. So yeah.
There were a
Thanks,
few
Kevin.
songs which we'll keep referencing, but on that Indiana record that I remember hearing, thinking, "God, dog it, that's a good song." And that was
Thank you.
one of those. And it was funny because I know Kevin pretty well, and I didn't know that he wrote it with you until like a year or two ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Okay, 2, Blue Skies. Now this one I need to give a little context to this. Blue Skies was on, I think, your Orange House Records. We talked about you being in Indiana or at Anderson in Indiana
Yeah.
at your college.
Yeah.
It was y'all's record label, the college record label. And I remember Matt Mangano now, who plays with the Zach Brown band, bass player,
that's
played
right.
with me. He's one of my dearest friends. He played with me for 4 years on the road, 4 or 5 years. And he was like, dude, listen to this song I just played on for John. And I was like, I could listen to this song 1,000 times in a row.
Uh-huh. It's funny because at AU, I was taking a songwriting class, and we met once a week. And I was on my way to my songwriting class, and had like 20 minutes or something. And we literally I was in a practice room, and one of the guys in the class popped in, and he was like, "Hey, dude, what's your song that you're going to bring today?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "We had to write a song for today. Like that's our assignment." And I had nothing. And so I wrote Blue Skies in about 10 minutes, which is not hard to believe because if you read those lyrics, they make absolutely no sense.
but it's, oh my God, so hooky. But it has all of the magic of a song that you don't overthink.
Totally.
It has like all
It's
the
a song
good
that
things.
I would never write it now. For
Yeah.
better or for worse, I would never write it now. But then at 20, I'm like, well, I'm not overthinking this. It's just that feels good to say. What does that mean, John? What do you mean? What does it mean?
Exactly.
Nothing.
It means exactly what you think
Exactly.
it means. Okay, what about Without You Now? I was reminded last week, I listened to that record again, which is on Promise and Promises, right?
Yep.
And I was like, this is a great hook. This is like a bulletproof pop hook.
So I wrote that song in the midst of a really tumultuous time between my record label and myself. My A&R guy had just been let go. I got a new A&R guy. So I was just getting to know the new A&R guy. The Island Def Jam was going through a ton of changes. And I was basically, I spent a year and a half off the road trying to write a song that would get my record label excited. And so I don't think I've ever had a time in my life where I have written as much as I wrote during that time. This was before I had kids. We were living out in California. I was probably staying up all night, maybe every third night. I wouldn't sleep.
Wow.
I was just staying up all night writing. And this, Without You Now, was the first song. I'd probably sent my A&R guy 30 songs before that. This was the first song where I remember he wrote me back and he was like, "Well done. That's a radio hit."
Wow.
And it went on to go on my record.
Yeah, it should be a album hit. Which, I mean, and I'll say this quickly for people who are listening, that thing that John is talking about is a very real, if there's one of the sort of like dark underbelly things that is hard about being on a label, it is your relationship with your A&R person, which is basically they're the people that are kind of overseeing you're record making, collecting songs for it, you're writing songs for it, how they sound on the record, because they're sort of responsible for your record. So they
Yeah.
kind of take your record into the rest of the record company, and they go, "Hey, this is what we produced together. So here it is." And so
Mhm.
you can have these just knockdown drag outs where they're like, "We don't think you've got good songs yet," or "We need you to start writing right now," or you know, and so they can be really ugly affairs sometimes and cause the
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of, anxiety that you're talking about.
Well, and you can, stay up all night working on a song that you get really excited about, and then you finish that lyric and it's done, and you send it off, and then you flippantly get an email back being like, "Ah, it's okay. What else you got?" And you're like,
Gosh,
"I'm
I didn't
I'm
sleep last
sweating
night.
blood
Yeah,
after writing that song,"
yeah,
and now
yeah,
it's just dead in the water,
yeah.
So it's a
Um,
really tough thing.
it's such a good song. Another one like that to me is Lost. I remember where you were when you played that for me. We were in, Napa Valley, and you were
Mhm.
playing me songs. We're out playing live in the Vineyard there, a really cool event, and you were like, "Let me play you some new stuff," and I remember hearing that hook, and I was like, "That's one of the most bulletproof hooks that I may have ever heard."
Mm.
And
Thank
I
you.
love that song.
I wrote that song when we were in Australia visiting some friends. So we were there for like a month, and I had brought this tiny little MIDI keyboard that's like one octave, like you can barely play anything on it. And our friends that we went to visit, they were listening to Bleachers a lot, Jack Antonoff's
Yeah,
band.
yeah, yeah.
So it was during this time where I was on vacation, so it's like a different setting. I'm in a vacation mindset. I'm just out of my environment in a good way. And I'm listening to Jack Antonoff and Bleachers. And if you listen to that song Lost, in my mind, Jack Antonoff is singing that song always. And
Wow.
it sounds like a hook that Jack would write that I normally wouldn't write. That I don't wanna, I don't wanna, I don't wanna, I don't wanna live without you. Like it just keeps I wouldn't repeat it
Yeah.
that many times, but I feel like listening to Bleachers gave me that license to be like,
Yes. That's
no,
really
it's
well
just all
said.
about the hook
Yeah.
of it,
Yeah. So and then finally, and this is my, you know this, and I've told you many times, this is my favorite John McLaughlin song. And this is one of those songs that, to me, even if I didn't know you, I would still feel this way because I just don't understand how you wrote it. And I've asked you a million times, like, how in the world did you come up with this song? And those are songs to me that are like these kind of like, they're statues. They're like pillars that I look at and I'm like, one of the reasons that I love this song is because I don't understand how it came to be. Like I don't see how you got in. I don't see the door to enter this thing or how you got, which is Indiana. And I remember hearing Indiana when you put out, I remember going and buying the record, which was really funny. 'Cause I was like, I know this guy. And hearing that song and just feeling like, wait, hold on, what? Like I listened to it again and being like, this song is incredible. It's perfect. It's like it's got everything I like about music in it, and it's so insanely well written. Everything about it is so incredible. It's beautiful imagery. It's beautiful playing. The melody's gorgeous. And it was that thing where I was like, I know the guy that wrote this song. And that makes me feel weird because I feel like this is a song that should be written by like Randy Newman or somebody that you just
Mhm.
kind of go, well, yeah, I mean, he's a genius. He wrote a genius song. But it just messed me up because I was like, no, like John wrote this. How did he write this? And I still feel that way when you play it. I'm like, I don't understand how this came to be. I love that song.
Thank you. I wrote that, I first had the hook for it, the, like, piano part, the and to me, that was a Christmas song, and I'd never written a Christmas song before, but I just had that little hook, and, maybe it was Christmas time when I came up with that, I don't remember, but I just thought, "Ooh, that sounds Christmassy to me." So I'm gonna try to write a Christmas song around that. Um, and I couldn't come up with anything good, and then I was out in California, on my very first writing trip, that the label had sent me on. I was by myself. It was not going well. I didn't know how to co-write with people. I'd never done it before. I'd barely started writing songs, and it just you know how this goes. I would show up to someone's studio. It's like platinum records all over the wall, so obviously they know what they're doing, and they would start some track. They're like, "Hey, yo, how about something like this?" And it's like, what? And I'm like, I don't know. And then, a couple hours later, we would have a song that I would sing that I hated, and this would happen every day. And I called my A&R guy and told him, like, this is not going well. I don't like any of these songs that are being written. It just doesn't feel like me. And can I just go back to Indiana and I'll just write the record on my own in Indiana? And long story short, he was like, no, you got to finish we have all these co-writes set up, for the next 3 weeks. Just tough it out. And so I went over to my one friend, a college roommate of mine who moved out to LA. I knew one guy in LA. I went over to his house. And I mean, I was like in an emotional low that only like a 24-year-old can get to
Right.
quickly. You can just instantly go way low. Like my whole world is falling apart. Ironically, this is the thing that I have dreamt of. Like I had never been out to LA by myself. There was so many things happening on this one trip that were like bucket list mile marker things, and I was miserable. And so I was sitting on his porch, and this sounds hyperbolic, but it's true. Like I was thinking, well, music is not going to work out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he had this cheap little like red acoustic guitar, and we're going to go to dinner, and I'm sitting on his porch, and I start playing these chords, and I just wrote that song. And I wrote it in LA at the time, so like the mountains and the water in the song is LA where I was. The city is New York where I was, where the label was. And I just wanted to sort of pretend like I could go back to Indiana and with sort of my tail between my legs, and what am I going to say to everybody? Like what am I going to say to all these people that I've grown up with? And they've been hearing for years and years how I'm going to be a musician, and then I'm going to go back and be like, oh, I'm just kidding. That wasn't that big of a deal to me. I'm not going to do it. And so the girl in the song is my dream of being a musician. And when I got to a piano, I took that little hook and put it over top of it and kind of colored up the chords a little bit. And it's one of those songs that just kind of, like I was just taking one step, one foot in front of the other, and you just have this song, and I wish that I could do that every day.
God. Yeah, it's so I think hearing it's so obvious that you were really feeling something. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel manufactured at all. Like I hear that song and I'm like, yes, you can tell John is like dealing with some things in this.
Yeah.
But God, it's such a beautiful song. And I think,
Thank you.
that just again, I think it one of the hardest things about writing with other people as an artist, and there's other tricks when you're not the artist and you got helping the artist in the room, which we've both done, is it's really hard to find people that get your vision, who know because when you're writing professional songwriters, they're writing with somebody every day. So they don't have time to do the deep dive on John McLaughlin or Dave Barnes and figure out like, oh, okay, I've heard your stuff. And if they do, it's rare that they're right about it. They're like, because they're listening to past versions of you. Right. And they're going, oh, he's done this. Well, he'll probably do this again, or this is kind of his vibe. And so it's really, really, really vulnerable and super duper heartbreaking and frustrating, because you walk in and you're like, I've got to sort of bare my soul to this guy or girl. It's in my opinion, it's very rare you feel like they genuinely care about you at all. They're just trying to kind of get the best song because they know you're on Island Def Jam and you got all this hype. And
they know that you want something as an artist, and they also know that Island Def Jam wants something. And
that's right.
Rarely are you wanting the same things.
Yeah, and and the last thing I'll say too is that it's really tricky because most of those people are successful because they do a thing. And
Yeah.
it's not they're not necessarily trying to write the next John McLaughlin song. They're trying to have you write that thing with them that you add a little spice to.
Yeah.
And that's fine,
Yeah.
and it's super effective, but it can be so lonely and heartbreaking to your point, and
Yeah.
that's it but the beauty of those moments is, like, with you, you can have Indiana come out of that pain, but man, it's so some of the darkest moments of my life genuinely have been moments like that, where you kinda walk out of a write and you're just like it's so hopeless. You're just like, "What am I doing?" This hit writer, we couldn't write a hit, and he or she wasn't listening to me, or I just it feels dirty. It feels a little sort of prostituted in some ways because 'cause you're just
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
like, "Okay, that was high five, see you later, I guess." I don't know,
Yeah.
and
And
so
it doesn't make sense that it's so extreme, that it's so
that's
that
right,
the
that's right.
feelings are so intense.
Yeah.
'Cause, you step back and you look at it and you're like, "Dude, you're just writing a song, like,
Like, chill out.
what you were in there for 3 hours, like, how bad can it be?" But
Yeah,
it's like music, you can't mess around with music and not
yeah,
get emotions involved.
yeah, and
If
especially
you can,
too
then you're doing it wrong.
that's right, and I think too, when you're in that season where you're beginning your career, because 'cause you're trying to set up who you are
Yeah,
to the world,
yeah,
and then you've got a guy that's like, "I was listening to the latest, Radiohead, have you" and you're like, "Oh, no, 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 no," or like, "Miley Cyrus has been doing this thing we wrote the other day, and you wanna hear the" and you're like, "Okay, that's all great, but
right.
no like, have you do you" and then you gotta do your elevator pitch, "Well, tell me about you." Okay, well, play something. Okay. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Okay. Well, hey, what I had this, and sometimes it's great. And you do have songs like Human that come out of it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you, man, just the heartache and sitting in your hotel room that night going like, that's it. Like I
It's
need to,
over.
I'm going to finally be a youth director. I always thought that would be my youth pastor. Um, well, dude, thanks for doing this again. I
Thank
really
you for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
Love these songs.
Thanks, man.
These five hot takes. Yeah.